You are now rocking with the best, back again with another 9.9 episode. Welcome to Heroes After Dark, where we discuss life, love, and the pursuit of that grail. Before we begin, we first have to thank you for joining us for this special show. We've got something different. I know you've been with the Heroes for a little bit, but we got a special one for you today, and I think you guys are going to love it. But please hit that button like you're launching Cerebro. And of course, you got to subscribe like it's the Daily Bugle. The heroes are assembled. We're talking about something special that impacts all of us. Speculation, investment, and we've got the heroes here. We got Comic Champ in the building. We got Real Deal, and we're about to mix it up. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about numbers for some of you that like the numbers, and of course, we got the graphics because we can't have nothing without some graphics. So the boys are here. Let's begin, gentlemen.
All right, you know what? I'll go first. So, the last time we did this episode, or this segment rather, I brought Howard the Duck #1, first appearance of Gwenpool, an affordable book I believe in specking on and investing on. So, I'm going to keep up with that theme and bring yet another affordable book, but instead of bringing a first individual appearance, I want to talk about a group. These are not new characters, but they are the first time that they team up as the champions. So real quick, let's take a look at the book itself. It's Champions #1 from 2016. This is volume 2 because, as you guys might be aware, there was an original Champions with a whole different group of individuals in the past. This is the first team appearance of Ms. Marvel, Spider-Man, Nova, Hulk, Vision, and Cyclops as a team. So the reason why I feel this is a good spec book, it's not quite an investment yet, is because you have what I consider to be the future of Marvel. You have the young, heroes coming together after they have a fallout with the OGs because they don't quite like the way that they're moving. So they decide to team up, and they call themselves the champions. Now, I want to go over the census data for you guys that like that kind of stuff, right? So currently, as of today, October 31st, there are 1,898 copies of this book in the CGC census. 9.8, there are 1,539. Personally, I don't have any slabs of this book. I've kept them all raw, because I'm waiting for that moment where it becomes an investment book. At the moment, I just think it's a spec book. You guys already know Miss Marvel's going to be on in her own film. She had a series on Disney, so she's obviously already taken off. And Miles Morales, who doesn't know about Miles, right? So that's my choice. Later on in the show, we'll take a look at some GPA data. Might even go into some current sales. We'll take a look at eBay, but this is my choice for now. So again, my choice is Champions #1, Volume 2 from 2016.
All right,
And,
so
here's 3 of my copies.
so I'm curious. So you kept yours raw. On the census, we see a lot of high grades on there.
Yeah.
If you're jumping in, are you going for the 9.8, 9.6, 9.4, or maybe I know
So,
it's modern. What are you looking at?
well, that's a good question. So for me, modern books, 9.8 or bust. Anything under, and the book is so affordable. Like here, I'll show you this one I bought last year. The price tag on it,
Oof. Oh
five
wow.
ninety nine.
Yeah.
So you could still find this book for cover price of just a little bit above. At most, I would pay. I don't know why I would do this, but the most that I would pay would be $20. But really, the price for me on this book is $10. High grade, of course, right?
Yeah.
Before we actually did this, we started this recording. For me, it was going to be all raw comics, right? But after looking at current sales, I think it's actually worth buying the book already slabbed. If you can get the book for about $10 or less raw, by all means get it. I'm gonna stack up, right? It's a group, right? At the end of the day, it's a team ups always do well eventually. It takes time sometimes, and I think that's one of these books. I think it's gonna take some time before they reconnect again, or maybe Marvel decides to do something animated, whether it's television. If you like to spec on that, I just feel the characters are great for that. So that's my thought on that.
You mentioned 9.8s. Do you have a price range or kind of what they're So
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I'm gonna show you after we go through our books. You're gonna see the prices, current prices, and you're gonna probably be like, you should probably get a few of them because
Okay. All right.
they're so freaking affordable right now, man. It's a shame.
Cool.
A good spec book.
Yeah.
I respect that. And and like you said, this could be potentially the future for Marvel Comics. Not
Well,
only just
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, young characters, right? I mean, as we age, I'm personally, I feel like the writing on this book is so well that someone my age could enjoy it, right? But this really is more so for like the teens, like a younger crowd. And
Yeah.
eventually they're going to be us, and they're going to be looking at this book the way I look at Avengers, Avengers number 3, number 4, Avengers number 1, right?
Yeah.
Um, Today's affordable book is tomorrow's expensive book. I mean, that's the way they always start, man. And I think this is one of them. I don't think I'm going to retire from this book, right? These books are not going to help me retire and buy a house in Peru.
Yeah.
But it's a great spec. And if you're going to spend $10 on a book, why not spend it on something like this? But I would also recommend reading it so you can enjoy it. And hopefully, if you read it, you'll like it, you're going to feel that much better about the investment.
Okay.
so story and then those select heroes.
Yeah.
So it's a
absolutely.
nice mix. Hardcore
Oh, yeah.
spec book.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, by the way, by the time we see the prices, it's a trap. I know it is. I'm not gonna lie, it's a trap.
Yeah.
That's why you have to read it and enjoy it. If you don't like the story, stay away from it, man. This ain't for you.
Okay.
This will be for someone who either is already a fan of the characters or enjoys or hasn't read any of their stories, reads this one and says, "Hey, you know what? This is actually pretty good." You feel better about spending the $10 on this book.
So I'm gonna stick to the theme that I did last time, X-Men theme. I know I spec'd on the 130 last time. This week, I'm spec'ing on X-Men 221,
Let's go.
Mr. Sinister.
Nice.
Great cover. You don't see him on the cover until 239. So he jumps on the cover on 239.
I like that.
Yeah. So I have a few copies of that. So the reason I'm specking on 221 is there's rumors that Javier Bardem is supposed to play Mr. Sinister. We all know him from No Country for Old Men. I think he was in 007 as one of the villains. So he's possibly going to play that character in an MCU movie in the future, possibly. That book right now is pretty affordable. You can get near mint copies for around $50 or so on eBay. So you can do some homework and research and find out kind of where that book is right now. But it's pretty affordable for someone that really wants to spec on a X-Men villain. We haven't seen a lot of X-Men stuff yet, so I have a feeling in the future Disney and Marvel are going to push X-Men, and what better villain to have than Mr. Sinister. He showed up in the animated series back in the early 90s, and I think that's a character that has some history in the X-Men series, and I think will be featured in some X-Men films. So
Now, did we see this book at one point jumped up? It was pretty expensive for not that long ago, maybe about 6-7 months ago. I remember seeing 9/8 raw copies for a significant amount of money.
yeah.
Was there a reason why? What caused that spike?
Before the writer's strike, there was talk of an animated series. I think they were going to do X-Men was going to do a 97 animated series, and the main villain in that was Mr. Sinister. So that kind of spiked some of those prices there. I don't know what the future is with that series, if they're going to continue with that or scrap it, but it was an animated 97 series.
I don't think they're scrapping that series.
Okay.
But the writer strike isn't helping either, which might be the reason why we saw it take a small dip. I mean, you guys already know, out of sight, out of mind, right? So as long as it's not being talked about either on social media of any kind, or reported directly from Marvel/Disney, then it's out of sight.
I think, and then if Javier plays him in a film, great actor. I think he can really portray Mr. Sinister the way he needs to be in a story. So I think it's a good spec, and we'll kind of look at some census here on where that book is trending.
Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so looking at
I'm curious
this book,
to see that.
Yeah.
So there's 8,941 copies on census, of which there's 2,190 and 9.8, and there's 3 9.9s.
Yeah, that's
and one of them is signed.
Wow.
Oof. So good for that person, right? There's quite a bit of 9.6s actually. There's 2,232 9.6s. Then it drops significantly, in my opinion. The 9.4s, there's 1,480. So really, this is one of those books that. What's your opinion on this, there, Miller? You think 9.8 or bust, or you think the 9.6s have still a good investment at a 9.6 or below?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how much you want to spend. But I'm seeing trending right now where the market is. Those 9.8s are kind of trending in the $200 to $300 range, I think, for a 9.8. So that's what kind of eBay, and you can kind of find them. I have a 9.4, and I have a few books I kind of want to send to CGC and see if I can get a 9.8. It is affordable right now. A few years ago, that book was kind of trending a little higher than where we're at right now as far as 2 to 3. So I think it's a good book if you can get a 9.8 to kind of sit on it and see what happens with that book in the future. So,
well, I mean, if like you said, right, if it's going for 50 raw, getting a slab's not going to cost you that much money. You're still in the green. If it actually does sell for 300, I actually do think it qualifies as a good investment.
Yeah,
I do too. It's an X-Men key too, right?
X-Men key, first appearance, the villain. There's some, rumors behind that book. Getting in at $50 to $60 a near mint raw, and possibly turning around and send it off to CGC, possibly get a 9.8. You double, triple your money pretty quick if you're looking at flipping the book quickly. So,
good deal.
Yeah, so that's my spec for this week. So I think you see one out there, I'd grab it if you can see a 9.8.
All right,
boy. I got what do you got, bro?
See, everybody wants to go Marvel, so I'm gonna go contrary. I'm gonna go DC.
Look it up.
Vengeance of Bane. First cover, first appearance, first origin of Bane. This was published in 1993, so it's been around. It's a 30-year-old book. We didn't see Bane. This is not a spec book. This is just a solid investment key. This is the tail end of Copper. So right at the very end, before we go into the modern age, this is one of the last books that was part of that. One of my favorite books, obviously, Tom Hardy killed it when he portrayed him in, Dark Knight Rises in 2012. Yeah. So, there's not new spec on this. This is just a book that if you grab it, you see it, it's a solid performer. You're going to get a return on this. And it's a book that most collectors covet. It's one of those books that even if you're not a big DC fan, you know immediately who that is.
Yep.
So let's talk about it. I mean, this is a book. It's not a lot on the census. What is it? 5,302 or 5,302? Sorry. Apparently, I how to communicate numbers. So not a lot of this book around. In a 9.8. I mean, that there's only about 1,303 9.8s.
There's currently, as of today, there's 1,715 9.8s.
Okay, so there's books that have been resubmitted. Yeah,
there's 13 9.9s, which is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's the book is it's a bit thick, as they would say. The interesting book? Yeah, square-bound book. The interesting thing, I remember when I have a raw copy of this too somewhere. Getting it pressed, the challenge with that book is that if it has a little bit of heat on it, that glue is going to run. So you don't see too many 9.8s running around there. However, you know, lots of raw books. Typically, the average raw grade is between a 9.0 and a 9.4, and you're talking about approximately $100 to get one. It may not be a 9.8, but it's considered, you know, mint, not near mint. Slabbed. If you're gonna invest in this, solidly 9.8, not 9.6, not 9.4, nothing 9.8 or bust. Now, here's what's interesting. If you bought this book, because you know, a few years ago, it was not an expensive book, and it's still not, you know, it's not out of the way for most collectors. If you bought this book about 4 years ago, for $150, kept it, put it in the stash, decided to sell it at the peak, which would have been this year. Well, it wasn't the peak this year. Removing COVID out, it became a $500 book. I think right now it's about $300. So let's say so you bought it for $150. You sold it for $500. That return, gentlemen, is 242%. Every single year, that book grew in value. Solid investment. It's a book that just it's one of those, you sit back, you know, just let it marinate. It's not big gains like a 129 or anything like that, but it's just a solid performer, and it's a good book to round out the collection. Now, same kind of methodology. If you bought the book for super cheap, sold it for, let's say you sold it for $350, 132% return, annualized return 32%. So every year it gained value at 32%. So this is definitely a book I love. You know, if you're a Bane fan or a Batman fan, you love it. When people see it, automatically gravitate towards it. You're not going to find tons of 9.8s. I don't think I've seen in the wild the 9.8 of this book in, it's been a minute. Because even Champ was with me when I was looking for a raw copy last year. Or was it? Yeah, would have been last year, probably end of last year, beginning of this year. I was on the hunt for raw copy 9.8. Couldn't find it.
Wow.
Sniped one, and then I was like, I'm not sure if this is gonna go, and kept looking for it. So there you go. We see some eBay sales.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. You hit it right on the head. I mean, today there was a sale for $300.
Wow.
A 9.8. The one below that is a 9.2, sold for $100. So you're absolutely right. If you buy the book at $100 or around that price raw, man, it's a 9.8 or bust. This is where you have to do pre-screen, guys. And the fact that we can do one book at a time, this is where you got to really put be sure, feel really confident that the book's actually in the 9.8 range at least, and then do pre-screen. If we see a 9.6, let's find out what a 9.6 sold for. All right, 9.6 just sold for $100.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same price as the 9.2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is still,
So
that's an interesting case in itself. Between the 9.2 and 9.6, it still holds value. So you don't see these significant drops. That's why I think it's a book, you know, in my opinion, if you're gonna have certain books that are big performers, you know, your 181s, but just as, even though they're big performers, they're wildly risky in terms of the variance in prices. 1 week it's a $5,000 book, a couple months later it's a $3,000 book. ASM 129, I mean, the same thing. We both, Champ and I, we invested in one, and that book, man, it took you through more changes than a bad girlfriend. For real.
No, it's not lying,
1 minute it loved you. It loved you, and then the next minute it hated you. And then you were in jail and all of that. So it was a big drama. But if you want to put a ring on it, there you go. That's where to go. That's my recommendation. Slow and steady, nice, easy, just a great book that returns very well. Can't beat it. What do we got on Champion?
That's solid.
So I'm gonna go through mine, and then Miller will do a showcase on your book here. So, you know, we're looking at eBay, of course, right? Oh boy, that's a CBCS 9.8, sold for $11.50. So here's the 9.8 that when I saw this before we started this video, this is what broke my heart. 11 bids and only $30 for a 9.8.
Wow.
Already
30
graded.
bucks.
So initially, I came in here going, shoot, I got mine for 5.99. The other ones I got for cover price because nobody wanted these books, right? So I
Yeah.
was finding them all over the place. And here I was telling you, maybe I'll pay 20, but I want to stay at the $10 range.
Yeah.
I might as well go to eBay and buy me a graded one for 30 bucks already,
Yep.
right? And
Which
just
is still
stash it.
cheaper. Yeah, it's still cheaper than
Yeah.
slabbing it yourself and buying a copy, submit, paying
Yeah.
for postage. Yeah.
Slabbing, yeah, by itself would be $30-$40 almost.
Mhm.
Look at this. So, I mean, the only thing, obviously, there's fees involved, but at the end of the day, you're getting a 9.8 slab, a spec slab, of course, for under 50 bucks.
Yeah.
I'd do that. I would do that any day. I mean, even this one, $54.99, free shipping.
There you go.
Can't
Right.
beat it.
So now,
Yeah.
Champ, let me ask you: are there variants to this book or no?
Yeah,
Is
there
it a-
are.
okay.
There are. There's a lot of variants for this book. There's a second printings. There's store variants, store exclusives.
Yep.
There's a black and white one. There's a sketch cover rather. There's a what they call a party variant, which is like partially covered, partially colored. The bottom half of it, I believe, is sketch, and then the top half of it has color on it. There's a 1 in 100. There's options here, man. There's a blue one that has Miss Marvel on it. It's a negative space variant, in fact. So you have choices. I personally like the main cover, which is the one that I showed you guys. But yeah, like for instance, here's a variant, right? I like this one. I'll tell you why I like it. And at $7, this is perfect. It has Gwenpool on the cover. Now Gwenpool's not on issue number 1. She does make an appearance in the early, I think, by issue number 3 or between 3 and 6, she makes an appearance. But she's not a mainstay character. So for me, because I talked about Gwenpool last week or last time rather, for me this makes a lot of sense. It hits that other tick for me, like, oh, and Gwen's on the cover too. No, all right, so check it out.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I did a quick search, right? I did a quick search for X-Men 221 CGC 9.8 newsstand. This person took best offer. Lord knows what that was, but it was definitely over. He was asking more than $2,000 for the book.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So
Was it Mark Jewelers?
so let's talk about that. I mean,
Okay.
all right. So, I mean, we don't know if this is a high grade copy or not, but sold for $52. There's a $34 near mint VF to near mint. That's a little scary.
Yeah.
You have to name.
Oof. Conversely, look at that A5 though, $46.
Can we pull up the census on the 221 newsstand and see what they're like? How many there are?
Yeah. We'll do that.
Because there
hold
are
on.
Mark Jewelers of that book. I've seen some Mark Jeweler inserts on that,
Yeah.
so that would drive the value significantly.
This direct.
This is standard.
Yeah.
So this is the
Okay.
direct edition, right? So we're looking at we're staying somewhere close to the 270 range. So 269, 275, 280, 270.
Yeah.
These are all 9.8s. But this one's signed by Stan Lee.
Yeah.
I think
So I
that's
think
a
it's a-
trap.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a great book to invest in and spec on just because you can see them raw for near mints. I just bought one last week for $60 shipped. Near mint copy. I'm thinking about sending it to CGC as a pre-screen 9.8. So you can get into this book, around that $50 to $60 mark, and then you can see what they're selling for. So it's a good investment, a good spec.
All right, here we go. So we've got GPA up, issue 221.
Yep.
And let's go to that newsstand. Ooh, here we go. That's significant.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So the newsstand is for 2023. Let's see what not very many, but look at the last sale.
Yeah. They're out there.
1450. Yeah. 711, 950, 1250, 567.
Kind of
Yeah.
up and down.
Yeah, it's up and down, but I mean, you're gonna get at minimum $600 on that return.
Yeah.
So we've got that.
I haven't seen a ton of newsstands out there, so if you can find them, especially in a high grade, I would pick them up because there's a potential.
Wait a minute, hold on now. those are some pretty good sales if you go back up. I mean, look at what it was going for 2019.
Yeah. This not very many. It was 175.
That's
Yeah,
I,
the low.
I like that. And you know what? Considering where it was then and where it is today, with very little news,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody bought into the hype and bought that for 1450.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good book. I mean, and they're the raw ones aren't crazy expensive. I mean,
All right. Let's see some different. There's that Stan Lee
yeah.
for 1,000. There we go. A Mark Jeweler. Let's see a 9.6 Mark Jeweler. Only one. And that sold for $800.
This year too,
Yeah.
October 1st.
Yeah.
So pretty recent.
Mm-hmm. So the name of the game is definitely Newsstand or Newsstand/Mark Jeweler.
Yeah. If you can find them.
So question for you now: even if you pay $50 for the book and it came back at a 9.6, it looks like you can get a return on the book.
Yeah. It's still a
If
good
it's a
investment.
newsstand. Yeah, for sure. So 9.6 is still in the run, I would say.
Yeah. And even if you let's say you pre-screen them at 9.8 and they got rejected, you can still turn around and sell it for what you paid. You know,
Yeah, if nothing else.
If it's clean, if it's a pretty copy, put in a nice Mylar and still, command $40 to $50 easy all day for a first appearance. I mean, it's still a good book to have for those X-Men fans out there.
Yeah, and I love the artwork.
Nilf, what do you got on the Bane as far as
right,
GPA? What's the numbers on that?
Let's go on. Let's check it out. Hold on.
We don't have to look at mine.
It's a trap.
It's like the data is like $2.
Yeah.
You know what? The story was so good it got me. That's what it is, man. It goes back to what you were saying about the Star Wars book.
Yeah, great books, but trap.
Yeah.
All right, we got Vengeance of Bane 93. There's the 9.9. Look at that. 5K.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
Someone spent $5,000 on this book. It's outrageous.
October 22. Huh. Wow.
Yeah. That is a crazy one. But let's go to the 9.8. All right, we got 9.8s. We got some 9.8 action. So this book sells regularly every year.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. This is the girlfriend that you bring home to mom, because she's gonna do her thing.
30 to 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solid $300 book. Jumps up 400 in September. So not too much volatility on it. It stays slow and steady.
And you were saying getting into the book raw, you're gonna spend what, $100 or something like that? Just to find a
$100.
nice copy?
Yeah, $100. Get into it raw. I mean, for me, it's got all the markings. It's an older book, 30 years old.
Yeah.
It's a major character that people know immediately, so it's part of the cultural zeitgeist. It's Bane.
Yeah.
Great story, affordable, and just performs.
Yeah.
It's a key book. And and DC books don't necessarily get the same love as a Marvel book, but when it comes to certain ones, specifically Bane for Copper Age, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll put this head to head with another Copper Age Marvel book and say this still outperform it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bold statement. I think you're onto something. And you know what? With the DC now taking a new direction in the films and television and all that, I could totally see that character coming back, and that book taking yet another. And it'll be you know what? It's an organic growth too.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, the numbers you were showing, it was pretty steady.
Yeah.
And there's no news. There's nothing going on. It's just people are chasing after the book. And I think as DC becomes a little bit more popular, because the films haven't always been the greatest, right? If they keep going in that direction that they're in right now, I could totally see that book just growing steadily on its own. So at $100 plus, let's say grading fees, grading, slab, and shipping and all that, $150.
Yeah, $150.
Yeah.
$150. You turn around and sell it for what, 300 something,
Yeah.
305
Yeah,
on a good day, maybe 5.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, it definitely is that. It's I mean, you figure that Dark Knight Rises, that was in 2012. So that's 21 years ago. So this book is not driven by, like what you said, it's not movie news. It's not it's just, I think collectors, when they see it, like if you go to your local shop, you see it in there and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I want that book."
Yeah.
It's
It's
in a
not
9.8. Yeah.
yeah, in a 9.8. I mean, like I told you, I was looking for it when I first saw it. This is a few years ago. It was at Paul 50's house. I remember I walked in his house, I saw it on the wall, and I was like, I gotta get that book. And then, I forgot about it. It's one of those books, you tuck it away and you're like, yeah, there's some other things I need to get instead. But then when I was like, all right, I'm gonna be very intentional about finding this book, I could not find it anywhere in high grade.
Yeah.
Then found a raw one, and I was like, okay, ready to submit. This is gonna be, and then was told by our friends at Spinework, Lenny was like, this may be a 9.8, but it might not, because if you press it, that glue is gonna run, and it may not make it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So then I started looking around. 9.8s, $500. At one point, they were $1,000.
Wow. So there's room to grow there on that book too.
Yeah.
Possibly jump up. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what I got. Shall we go to Champions?
That was a great book, man.
Yeah.
I love the numbers on that book. I really, really do. The transactions on it speak for itself.
Yeah. It just
What's
moves.
interesting is I don't have a lot of DC books. I know that cover. There's certain books that you just look and you go, I know what that is. Right? It's like,
yeah.
Like you said, we go to a lot of
and you were
shops. I don't
talking
see that book on the wall.
Yeah, what you were saying is too, there's no hype right now, and that book is still performing. So if you even introduce a Bane in a future project, DC, and redoes Bane or something, that book's probably going to climb again to those $500-$600, even $1,000 mark. So
right.
Room
so the investment really, the book needs to be affordable in order for it to be a good investment. You want to get it on the low, which I think right now is probably a good time to do it. At $100, yeah, because you got to have your like $10, $20, $50 investment, $100 investment. I think that book falls into that category. High grade 9.8, $100.
Yep.
High
grade, yeah. Grab it. It's a book. I mean, you think about what are the other $100 keys that you can think of that if you just got the $100, what are you going to get into? You're not going to get a 252. You're not going to get a 300. You ain't touching no 129. You're not touching a 301. Yeah, not even a beat up copy. You're not touching a Batman 423. You're not touching any of those books that are big keys.
Yeah.
But you could touch this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. So yours in that X-Men 221, man. They I think that they're solid choices. Yeah. I'm afraid to see what the
oh, we got to do it. I think it's worth taking a look, because
you know what? Yeah, just for the love, why not?
Yeah, we got to see it just to see what's going on with the book. See if people are buying it, which I think some people are buying it, but let's see what they're buying it for. All right, so we got 9.8s. Wow, lots of activity on the book.
Wow, look at that 2021. That's
yeah.
Don't count.
Yeah. You saw, you see, wow, that's that sale you showed on eBay, that $30.
Yeah. Goddamn.
Yeah, so this book just
it's moving, but just man, those slabs are just not getting that oof.
Someone grabbed one for $26.
Jeez, someone wasn't paying attention.
Ooh, somebody else. That's cheaper than you can. I mean, $21. You cannot beat that.
Hey, that's $1 more than I said I would pay for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is
But there is
March.
a lot of move. You know, that's
Yeah,
funny, man. It's funny. It's moving.
yeah, it's moving. I mean, it's a book that moves. It's
Yeah.
changing hands. So
Good.
that was
Okay. So you know what? It's a good purchase. I
yeah.
do think it's a good purchase. Absolutely. Maybe buying it raw is not a good idea unless you're getting it at a cover price. Oh, you know what? I stand behind my real cheap, affordable spec. It's a spec, not an investment. There's no reason for you to call this an investment book. There's nothing going on. This is a spec of mine. They don't have an ongoing series at the moment either, so it's not like they've been trucking for the last 5 years. That's not the case. I just like first team ups. They're all on the cover, which is a plus. All solid individual characters that just happen to become a team. I still stand behind it, but it is a trap. Be careful. Don't overpay.
But I think we did a good range from a lower end book. I think the 221's kind of that mid tier where you're spending a little bit more, and then we look at a Bane where you're going to spend a little bit more, about $100 plus for a near mint. So I think we kind of covered from a lower
Yeah.
end all the way to a higher end spec.
Take a
All
look.
right. So you heard from the heroes. Here's some key takeaways. If you're looking for a book, it's got to either be spec or an investment. If it's an investment, let it meet the criteria. It's got to be limited amount on the census, high grade, reasonably priced, slow and steady performer. We got Marvel books, got Marvel keys, DC key. The only thing missing is you grabbing one and getting these comments and telling us what are the books that you believe that are spec or investment grade worthy. And then once again, if you are new to the channel, press that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you again. The heroes are out.